It's time once again for the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us. Joined by Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome again to the program.
Thank you.
February 6th was the meeting date. We've got a lot to talk about from that meeting and also a number of things coming up in the city in the springtime. So get your calendars out. We'll mention those as we end the program. Let's begin with the council meeting on the 6th. It was a rather long meeting because of one item we'll tell you about in just a minute.
Yep.
Consent, let's just cover an item or two there. You're going to have a chance to be on TV in a little bit further away than this report. Tell us about Twin Cities Live coming to town and what that means for the city.
Yeah, so Maple Grove was selected to be featured on Twin Cities Live this week in their In Your Town series. So every day they do a different segment focused on either a business in town or one of our recreational amenities. So just this past week, today's Wednesday, so on Monday, they were out at Omni Brewery Company, and so they had a bunch of people there sampling all the beers and talking about what they do there at Omni Brewing. And then yesterday on the Tuesday edition, they were out at Elm Creek on the Tubing Hills.
Oh, very nice.
And then at the skating loop at Central Park. And so very fun segments. Their theme for their show is food, fashion, and fun. And so that's kind of the focus of their segments.
Right.
So Thursday, they'll do a segment every day, but then Thursday they'll be live at the Lookout from 2 to 4. And I think the show broadcasts from 3 to 4. So everybody's encouraged to come on out to that.
Good.
If you see this show before then. And Steve Patterson will be live there on Thursday afternoon, meeting with folks and talking about why they love Maple Grove. And so there's lots of reasons to tell Steve about that.
All right, so
yes.
Maple Grove on TV
Yes.
in many, many ways now.
Yep.
So that was something that was passed in the consent agenda.
Yep.
Proclamation for Twin Cities Live Day in Maple Grove. Let's talk about community development, moving ahead to some other items. And we talked about this the last time, the CDBG funds.
Yep.
Again, remind us what those are and what the discussion was at the meeting on the 6th.
Yeah, so this is our community development block grant funds. Basically, it's kind of a pass-through from the federal government to the counties, and then the city gets an allocation that we can make some determination about where those funds should go. Typically, they're focused around social service agencies that help people, either low-income folks or seniors. That's kind of where the programs are focused. And then a lot of it's focused on housing. So reinvestment in some of our more affordable housing product and maintenance. We have our scattered site program.
Right.
Hickory Ridge is a project that's getting some investment this year. So that's generally where our funds are targeted on an annual basis. Our allocation this year was right about $160,000, up a little bit from last year.
Okay.
But yeah, we go through a process to look at those organizations, how they're serving the residents of Maple Grove, and then make determinations about the funding allocations that go to each agency.
Very good.
Yep.
Moving on in community development, the long item of the evening was a discussion we've talked about before was Spacebox Maple Grove.
Yep.
Again, give us a little background of the area and what the talk was, and then a recap of that 1 hour from the meeting.
Yeah, so we're at 94 and Weaver Lake Road.
Right.
Kind of that northwest corner there, right before you get to SciMed. Applebee's is right on the hard corner there, and then you have the site where the old IHOP was, formerly Fuddruckers. IHOP went out of business a few years ago. The building's been sitting there. We have seen a number of proposals come by of interest in the site. This most recent one that we've been dealing with over the last few meetings now is a self-storage facility called Spacebox. I think from a from a land use perspective, there were a couple benefits to the proposal in terms of traffic is a big concern right there at 94 and Weaver, one of our busiest segments of roadway in town. So we were concerned about a use there that would have a lot of traffic impact to the site. Sensitive area in terms of water there. We have the connection between Fish Lake and Rice Lake that goes right behind. There's some wetlands and whatnot. Right. So there was an opportunity to improve some of the stormwater functions on the site also with this project. I think the biggest area of concern that maybe we weren't able to address was the massing and scale of the building. So it is a this was voted down, so I'll say it was.
Right, right.
Comes back one more time on the February 21st meeting for kind of the resolution for denial. But I think the issue at hand was really sort of the size of the building. It's a 4-story building. It increases the square footage on the site by about 15 times from what's there today with IHOP, and I think
Okay.
that was primarily the concern. I think, you know, the developer brought to the table some nice architecture. They tried to mirror kind of the Boston Scientific look, so it looked like an office building. But I think the members of the council that voted no, you know, I think their main concern was basically over the mass and scale of the building. So as I mentioned, this will come back again on February 21. We always do kind of a 2-step process where now we'll bring back a resolution for denial, and that resolution will have findings in that about why the project was denied, and then the council will take action on that at that time. So unless the developer takes other action to either, you know, do something different or withdraw the project or something, that vote would happen on the 21st on that resolution. And so, yeah, we'll see how that goes between now and the 21st.
Very good. All right, so there's your update on the longest part of the meeting. Another part of the meeting that, again, there's been some talk in the city and in the press about this is the emerald ash borer, and a little bit more related to shade tree disease and pest ordinances in general. So tell us how the city's looking into this issue and really making some rather noteworthy changes. Yeah,
so, you know, EAB, emerald ash borer, has been something that's been on the radar here in the metro area for a number of years. Unfortunately, it is now here. We have discovered it in a neighborhood kind of north of County Road 30, west of Elm Creek Boulevard, kind of up in that area, that northwest area just south of the Grove area, that neighborhood up in there. And so we have discovered, I think they've identified about 11 trees that are infected with emerald ash borer. So with that discovery, we had been working at, in fact, we had adopted a management plan this last summer and made some changes to our ordinances. As we've learned more from not only the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, but also some of our neighboring communities, we felt it necessary to make some changes to our ordinance as well as our management plan. Part of that is related to they're having success with treatment of ash trees, and so there is a protocol that can be followed to treat the tree. It's almost like an immunization, if you will, for the tree, and you can prolong its life if you catch it early enough, and possibly even save the tree. So we wanted to make provision in our code for that, about how that could be an option as part of the management plan, but also then update some standards about, you know, one thing that happens is once a tree gets infected, and if it's left infected long enough, the death of the tree is quite rapid, and then it becomes a hazard because it becomes very brittle. And so if we were to have windstorms or anything like that, they can become a big problem in a neighborhood, and so there has to be kind of quick follow-up for removal once the tree is dead. So we wanted to make sure that we had the provisions in the code for removal, but also this treatment option. So these were kind of the code pieces, the legal pieces of the process. We're pairing that with a pretty big community education and awareness effort about this. We want to make sure that people understand how to recognize this in their own trees. Right now, of this time of the year with no leaves on the trees, is a really good time to get out and look for some of those woodpecker holes, kind of thing. And we have information on our website about that. And so this is a good time of the year for awareness. And then if you discover it, kind of understanding where your tree is at in that disease process, and what your options are in terms of either removing and replacing the tree with a more diverse species, or contracting with a company for treatment. So you'll see information in our city newsletter, on the website, social media. We're really trying to get the word out and get some education out there about how people can deal with this now that we know that it's here.
So as far as the city's involvement with the project and with the trees, it's more of an educational and, again, policy standpoint. So if residents did have questions, can they contact the city? And I would guess the city then is the point that can educate people and give them the numbers of the people that really can work with it. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, we'd be happy to be a resource, and there's information about who to call on our website. Our staff oftentimes will go out and take a look and see, because now they've become more, we have certified tree inspectors at the city, but we've also become more trained now that it's here in our community, and we can see what that looks like. We did have the Department Department of Ag out probably about a month ago, and they did a really great briefing. Probably had about 50, 60 of our staff in the room so that everybody kind of heard the same message at the same time. And so we can be a resource, but there's also, you know, private tree companies that are out
Right.
there that if you choose to go the treatment route, the piece about the treatment is that it's a little bit technical about how you treat the tree. And so our recommendation is that you work with a certified tree company to do that, because I think, you know, I think there are some options to go buy things yourself and try to do it.
Right.
But to ensure that you really get the effective amount of treatment done in the right way, our recommendation is that you look to a contractor to help you with that. So all that information is out there, and we do encourage people to give a call because we can come out and help with some of that identification.
Are any of the trees that are affected in city property, on city property?
Yeah.
So you're having to make these decisions as well as a
We
city
are.
of what to do.
We
Okay.
are, and there's a lot of areas, particularly in some boulevards, where you have these very big mature trees.
Right.
And it would change, you know, really kind of the character of the streetscape or the neighborhood to take them down. And so we are going to be making some decisions about areas where, boy, we think we should treat here.
Okay.
In some other areas, maybe we'll do removal and replacement. So it's just kind of almost on a case-by-case basis, depending on, you know, where the trees are located, the health of them,
Right.
where they're at in the disease process. Are we ahead of it? Can we treat? You know, all of those things get taken into consideration.
Now, there's just been the one area identified at this point.
Yep.
Is there concern that other areas will be added onto this?
for sure.
What is the look forward as far as other residents in that area surrounding that might have to be concerned?
Yeah, I think once a community, it's discovered in a community, you know it's here and it's likely spreading.
Right.
It was interesting, the Department of Ag talked about what they've learned over, you know, the last maybe 5-7 years as this has kind of moved throughout the metro area, is that these prevention measures, whether it's removal and replacement or treatment, seem to be slowing the progress a bit. So these interventions that are being done in communities, you know, they're hopeful that over time that will really level out, because for a while it was sort of a really
big
dramatic
concern.
peak happening of the movement of the disease through communities. So we're hoping that with this, you know, awareness and education, and maybe people take the opportunity to treat, or they get the tree removed and they replace it with other species, maybe we can slow it down as well. So I think it's just keep aware to your trees. If you see woodpeckers out there,
Right.
particularly, you know you have ash trees. If you don't, figure out if you do. If you see woodpeckers on your trees, particularly this time of the year, it's a good sign, and you want to check that out.
Is that something the city can help with? Is that tree identification? If a
Yes.
resident said, boy, I have lots of trees, but I have no idea what they are,
Yep.
would the city be willing to come out and do that?
Yeah, we
Okay.
have some resources that, you know, staff can either provide resources or
Good.
help them kind of identify that. So, yes.
We'll give you the website at the end
Yep.
of the program, and again, a lot of that information is there so you can keep up to date on what is happening.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the items you reported on, and one was dark fiber license agreement. People might be going, what
What the
is
heck
dark
is that?
fiber? But it has to do with technology and under the ground.
Yeah.
So fill us in on what the city is doing and how that also helps maybe some vendors or businesses in the area.
Yeah, so probably over the last 15 years, the city has built a pretty good network of conduit and fiber network throughout the city. The purpose of that construction has really been about serving the public facilities and then some of our traffic management,
Right.
signal management programs. Because of how we've approached our construction, we've been able oftentimes to have construct additional fiber, which is called dark fiber. And in essence, it's not currently being utilized, but
Sure.
it's there for the future. It does a few things. Puts some redundancy in our system. If we have some maintenance to do, there's additional capacity there that can be used. And then the thought was to build some additional capacity that if we had the opportunity to provide that fiber infrastructure to a private entity, that capacity would be there as well. So this is really about providing access to the infrastructure, not the service provision. So
Right.
for instance, if we were to provide fiber capacity to a private business, they would need to have a service provider come along and provide the connectivity
Okay.
over that fiber. Oftentimes what we find, and I think what we see, is that the city's in a position to maybe make up that last mile of that fiber connection, or
Right.
provide increased capacity where it might be lacking
Sure.
in other conduit that's out there. So this really creates a template then for us to go out and make those agreements with the private entities, and then sets that forth so that every time we do that, it'll come back to the council, the agreement, but this was an opportunity for the council to understand kind of what the business plan was with this
Very
program.
good. So it saves a little more digging under the ground, which is
It
always
does.
nice for everybody involved.
It does.
Cuts down that cost and
Yep.
also cuts down the disruption to a homeowner
Yeah.
or to a business as well.
It does have an economic development piece to it too,
Yeah.
in that if there's a business that is looking to expand and grow, but maybe this is a hurdle they're dealing with,
Exactly.
that we can help them there. Or if a new business is coming to town and we have some capacity, it could be part of an economic development package that we offer as
Right.
well.
Very good.
Yep.
All right, so now you know what dark fiber is
Yeah.
and why it is there. So that's the report from the council meeting
Yes.
on the 6th. There was one other item that we're going to hop into our report of some other things happening around the city to tell you about, and that is the Forum on Race. You mentioned that
Yeah.
that is coming up within your report at the council meeting. That's on March 11th. Tell us a little bit more about the background of that and why people should put that on their calendar.
Yeah, so March 11th, 11 to 3, it's at the Brooklyn Park Activity Center. There's information on our website and social media about how we want people to register for it, because
Right.
there is a lunch included, free lunch included, and so we want to get a good head count of the number of folks that are going to be there. This is an event that the school district has started. I think this is the 4th annual event. So the school district kind of takes the lead on it, but City of Brooklyn Park and now the City of Maple Grove are involved, as well as St. Joseph the Workers, so Faith Community,
Right.
and then some other organizations, the African Immigrant Services Organization, nonprofit, that help support the event as well. So there'll be a keynote speaker. The keynote speaker's name is Alex Pate. He's an author, and he does a lot of speaking. One of his books is about the innocent classroom, so he does a lot of work on race in class in the education system.
Right.
And so he'll be the keynote speaker. We'll have that break for lunch, and then we'll have some breakout sessions and focus on some different aspects of Mr. Pate's keynote speech. So I think it'll be a great afternoon.
Right.
We encourage members of the community to come on out for that. From a city perspective, a number of city staff are attending, and hopefully some of our council will be able to be there. But I think it's just a nice opportunity for the community to get engaged and have an opportunity for these kind of discussions with our neighbors.
So again,
Yep.
at the Brooklyn Park Community Activity Center,
Yep.
and that's on Saturday, the 11th, from 11 to 3. Other things happening around town, we talk about the farmers market on a regular basis, and as we're taping this, people thinking about Valentine's Day,
Yep.
and the market's thinking about Valentine's Day as well. So tell us about the next one coming up.
Yeah, so it's this Thursday, and 3 to 6 p.m. indoor, of course, at the community center. And I think a lot of our vendors are going to have kind of some of those sweet treats, maybe
Very
things
nice.
special for Valentine's Day, maybe some packaged things. So they do have some produce options, even though we're in the winter. Apples, lettuce, spinach, microgreens, mushrooms, potatoes, carrots, squash, a number of those kind of hearty vegetables. And then, of course, all of some of the baked goods, eggs, honey, the pierogies. Those would be a lovely treat for
Very
your
nice.
Valentine's
Sure,
dinner.
exactly.
Yeah, so we really encourage people to come on out Thursday afternoon. I do know we're going to feature this as part of the Twin Cities Live
Oh, very
broadcast.
good.
We'll have a nice basket of goods there from the farmers market to share, give people a sneak peek at what's going on down at the community center. So lots of things going on Thursday afternoon.
Other dates in March
Yep.
9th,
Yep.
April 13th, May 11th, and then, believe it or not, June, we're talking about summer already. That's when they start
Yay.
going outdoors.
Yes.
On the business front, we've got a business that had a ribbon cutting, or will have one coming
Yep.
up here on the 22nd. Tell
Yep.
us about Firefly Credit Union.
Yeah, so Firefly Credit Union, they're a new business. They're right out in front of Lowe's in the Fountains area.
Right.
Yep, so they are a new credit union coming to town, and they will have their ribbon cutting on Wednesday, February 22 at 12:15. 11121 Fountains Drive. So
All right.
we welcome them to town.
Hope people can stop by and see that. Well, we talked about summer just a second ago. Let's go to the coldest part of the year, and that is the polar plunge and people jumping in a frozen lake.
Yes.
It happened in Maple Grove. How did it go? What are the reports back from that?
It went really well. 570 jumpers, plungers they called them, and they raised $129,000 at this particular plunge that day. I know there's plunges happening around the metro area, but our police department team is called the Frozen Fuzz, and so they had a lot of our police staff involved with that event. Councilmember Judy Hansen jumped. She was a plunger that day. Councilmember Jagger was there. She got to throw in the chicken, two chicken to jump.
That's fair.
She's been a great supporter of this event as well. So this is a fun one. They keep. Well, it's only been a year, but they have now been negotiating for my participation in this.
Oh, yes. How's that going?
See. I think it's something. I've done my turn in a dunk tank from time to time over the years.
Well, this is a little different than a dunk tank.
So this is a little different, but I think I'll have to take it under consideration for next year, seriously.
So, good for you. So hats off to the police department also, Mike Canan and the folks up at the Lookout again. Put a lot of effort behind this, and it all goes to Special Olympics.
Yes.
Community survey, we've talked about it a few times. The word is getting out. Tell us a little bit about social media and the community survey. You're trying to help people understand some of the results.
Yeah, so a couple different things that we're doing. We've kind of picked a different aspect of the results and are doing different social media features on our Facebook and Twitter about the survey and the results and really what it means to the community. So that's kind of a big push. So if you kind of want to, don't have time to read the 90-page report.
Exactly.
This is kind of a quick way to kind of understand what some of the results were. The other piece is this past Monday night, we had one of our comp plan meetings, and one of the purposes of kind of pulling the time frame for the survey up was to help inform our comp plan process.
Right.
So as a part of that meeting, we reviewed kind of the overall survey results, but then we really honed in on some of those new questions around economic development this year. So that comp plan committee had an opportunity to review those results as well.
And let's jump ahead to talk about the comp plan. So there are some things coming up for the comp plan, and again, this is something that you're working on, and it looks out to 2040, correct, is that time frame. So really future thinking here, but the community can get involved in upcoming months. How does that happen?
Yeah, so we are sort of going to be wrapping up sort of our preliminary work, the committee's preliminary work here by the end of February. We have been having some meetings with some of the larger landowners that are in the areas where we're looking to make some shifts to some of the land use. So that's progressing. During the months of April and May, we'll be scheduling some public open house meetings, and we would encourage the public to attend those, to come and give us feedback about the direction of the comp plan. I think primarily the focus, of course, is in the 610 corridor and then in the balance of the gravel mining area. And the main focus, I think, is just the shift from really kind of shifting into more of an office and industry uses in some of those areas. And then in the northwest quadrant, it's shifting that use that was previously residential to more that's now really Highway 610 corridor land, to more of that office and industry use. And then down in the gravel mining area, it's kind of stepping away a little bit from the retail type development and really focusing in on that jobs, office and industry. So I think that's what folks will see when they come in. But we'll get information out about those dates and the locations of those meetings. But put it on your radar for April and May. We'd hope you come out and take a look and give us some feedback.
Very good. Be watching for that. Couple topics we want to cover related to fire prevention. First is you're going to see a old vehicle, but it's a new vehicle to the city of Maple Grove around town. Tell us how this came to be.
Yes, it was a retired ambulance that will now be used in the fire prevention efforts. So we've cleaned it up a little bit, and then we've stripped out kind of the medical equipment and then replaced it with some shelves. And so as our staff goes around doing fire prevention education, this is a vehicle that they can use. And then they put some new graphics on the truck to make it a little bit more catchy, and reflect kind of our public safety efforts there for fire prevention.
All right, so watch for it around town. Another item related to fire safety and fire prevention is Fire Home Safety Survey. So the city is in the midst of a survey to try to gather some information. And Marilyn Arlen is really behind this. Tell us a little bit about what that process is and how residents can get involved.
Yeah, I should note on that fire prevention vehicle, North Memorial donated that
yes,
vehicle,
right.
and I wanted to make sure they got their due on that. We appreciate that partnership with the hospital, and so thanks to them on that vehicle. So the fire home safety survey is a grant that the fire department received from the Minnesota Fair Plan to conduct home safety surveys, and then as well as to install that stovetop fire stop, which is an automatic fire extinguisher that can be installed right above the stovetop. Interesting, so the Super Bowl Sunday, we had a distinct uptick in cooking fires.
How about that?
So somebody puts something on the stove, puts something in the oven, forgets about it, goes watches the game. It was a good game,
right.
So that is easy to see how that could happen. But that's probably one of our biggest risk areas is cooking fires, and particularly in the older populations. So I think this is a great program. So if you're interested in that, you can call Fire Marshal Marilyn Arnland at City Hall. 494-6091 is her phone number. This is for owner-occupied homes, so if you own your home.
Right.
And then there is some income guidelines for this. It's income tested, but it's for the higher level, so from an affordability perspective, higher level income guidelines there.
So pretty liberal, that a lot of people can get involved in it. Good.
And so we encourage you to give a call if you're interested, and they'd be happy to come on out and do that program and maybe get that extinguisher installed above
ready
the
for
stovetop.
the next Super Bowl,
ready for next year, which will be
or
more exciting.
March Madness or whatever it might be next.
Yes.
All right, couple other items to touch on for you happening in Maple Grove. We've talked about the Open to Business program and why that came to be, and now we're getting some feedback that it's going very well. There's others coming up. Give us the recap on that.
Yeah, so our first time hosting it at the Government Center was in January, I think it was January 10th. It's the second Tuesday of every month, and we had a full slate of appointments that day.
That's
so
good
we're
to hear.
really optimistic about that. So our next time is Tuesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, and they're there from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And you can get information on our website about where to go to book an appointment for that. I think what it speaks to is that we have a lot of entrepreneurs in this community, whether they are working out of their home or they're working in a small commercial space and they're thinking about expanding, but they need some help thinking about that, maybe getting some counseling. This is a service that it's free, first of all, so that's great. And then they'll kind of take a look at your business plan and your pro forma, and if you're thinking about trying to go get financing for this expansion, do you have what you need to do that? Is it going to cash flow? Is it going to work? They're really a great resource to provide you some help with that kind of first initial look. So we encourage people to reach out, and we hope that every Tuesday is a full slate of appointments.
Very good.
That's what we're hoping for.
Good to hear. Rob is a great guy, and we've been in many other cities in the area for quite some time, so it's a service that is definitely tested and true. Senior Spring Forum coming up on March 29th. Give us a little preview of this, another event happening over at the Brooklyn Park Community Activity Center, but Maple Grove seniors certainly invited.
They are. So Wednesday, March 29th, 8:30 in the morning till noon, Senior Spring Forum. They will have vendors there and resources about health and social services, transportation. There'll be music and dancing, wellness, fitness, housing, travel, community theater, and much more. So encourage seniors to reach out. There is, it's hosted by the Northwest Hennepin Human Services Council, and so their phone number, 763-503-2520, if you're interested in getting information about that. But certainly encourage seniors to reach out about that program.
Yeah, great event, and a lot of the vendors are from the Maple Grove area too, so you're going to see some businesses right from your hometown. Final note we want to make, see, I said there was a lot to put on people's calendar. Another one way out in advance is Thursday, May 11th is the annual Maple Grove Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. Tell us a little bit about that event and why people should think about that.
Yes, we're at Rush Creek again, 7:15 a.m. start. This is just a wonderful community gathering to bring the community together, and we usually have, last year, I think it was Minnesota Adult
Right.
Teen Challenge
Yep.
was the speaker, and was great. It was a great morning. There's great music. The faith community is there. A lot of local leadership. So it's a great morning. So Thursday, May 11th, 7:15 a.m. We'll be getting information out about that. They're still working out the details for the program.
Okay.
But over probably the next few weeks, more information will come out about that, and there'll
Good.
be opportunities to register and attend.
Yep, ticket information
Yep.
will be out, and again, it usually fills up, so you'll have
Yep.
to act fast on that. Heidi, thank you very much again
You're
for
welcome.
your time. Let's
Thank you.
leave people with that website. We mentioned it many times that there's a lot of information there. You see it at maplegrovemn.gov. Next meeting is going to be on a Tuesday, and again, that's because of the holiday on Monday. So Tuesday the 21st, 7:30 at the Government Center, and 494-6000, the number if you need to call. And our viewer response line here, 533-1710. If you have questions for the program, we'll try to answer those. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us.